He's like, make me an offer. And I was like, $1,000. I said goodbye to my little truck. I essentially was like, I will come back for you. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Oh, I did break down. My name is Georgia. I am originally from Langley, British Columbia, Canada, but I now reside in Riverside, California. When I was younger in high school, I was super into art and that sort of thing. And I would see cars here and there out and about. And I didn't come from a custom car family. Like my dad, he likes cars. He's into cars. He can tell you about what he likes and this and that. But he wasn't building hot rods. And so I didn't have the luxury of being born into it and knowing about it. So in my later teens, as I started, making friends with other people or having a boyfriend, and you see and you go out to these car meets and get to know the community. And lowriders kind of drew me in. At one point, then I had the opportunity to drive this old '96 Lincoln Town Car. And it was on wire wheels, no hydros. And I was like, this is it. It just kind of naturally snowballed into something that I felt like I needed to do. My dad let me know that my grandfather had this Oldsmobile Cutlass in his carport. So he was going to sell it. He was like, I don't really drive this Cutlass very often. I take it to the store and back. It's in mint condition. We know that you're kind of liking these lowrider things. So I purchased the Cutlass from my grandfather in 2011, slapped a set of wire wheels on it immediately and lowered it as low as I could make it and mobbed around in it and had a good time. Just kept going, and it eventually got painted by a guy named Corey Lawson. I guess the next natural progression is to do hydros. From there, the car got a 2-pump whammy setup. I learned to hit a switch, and it just went from there. It was so important to me. That car was so special. It kind of kept me sane to go and get in it and cruise back roads. One thing led to another, and next thing you know, the car was being featured in a magazine, and then from there people were seeing it and recognizing it. From there, people were like, well, will you pose with your car? And so I was like, okay. And it snowballed into this thing where people wanted me to go to the events, and the people wanted to see the car, and more things were happening, and it created and gave me a life that I never thought was ever be possible. I grew up essentially on a farm. I started riding horses when I was about 2. I was first put on a horse at the age of 2. And from there it stemmed a love of horses. It graduated into competing with horses, being sponsored as a rider, and competing heavily in the show jumping circuit back home in Canada. No, horses are so expensive. Oh my gosh. So I worked 3 jobs. I worked for my trainer, I worked for a store. I was doing everything that I could, like cleaning barns, and then I graduated I had my own students, and I was taking on client horses where I was riding for other people and exercising their horses as well. So at some points I was riding up to like 10 horses a day just to help pay my own bills and cover my show costs. Basically, people think that cars are expensive, but man, let me tell you, horses are a lot more. So after the Cutlass was built, the natural progression in lowriding, it seemed to be to get an Impala. And so I fell in love with a 59 Impala. And so I just scoured the internet. And at one point, sent a message to this guy on eBay, and I was like, hey, I hear you got these cars, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, look, I'll deliver them to you for this price. And I was like, okay, sure. So I gave him all the money I had, purchased these 59 Impalas that were projects. Like they were bare bones, not running. Like one had a good interior, the other one had a good body. Like I was gonna try and take 2 cars and make them into one. That was the plan. I'm gonna get as much parts as I can. I'm gonna gather all the stuff. We're gonna put this car together and I'm gonna build a 59. And time starts slipping away and the money and the budget. And I look back now at my inexperience. I mean, the Cutlass was built, but I did need more help and resources than what I was able to provide myself living in Canada. So 2020 hit and I was like, maybe it's time. Like I should sell them. I sold them on a package deal for a lot less money than I should have sold them for, looking back. And I always had liked mini trucks, particularly Toyotas. And so, you just scan Marketplace, you scan Craigslist, and there was this mini truck that was like in shambles on Craigslist. So I hit the guy up and he hit me back, told me about it, and he wanted a bit much for it. So, do you want to come just see it? And if you want, make me an offer on it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we went to go look at it, and as the story goes, this man purchased this truck from the dealership lot. He drove it for a very short amount of time and then took it apart to make it a mini truck. Fast forward 25 years, here I am standing in this man's driveway looking at this truck in shambles that's been off the road since '92. I looked at it and I was like, yo, dude, like, obviously it's not running and driving. There's no interior in it. Like, it's a bit of a mess. And he's like, make me an offer. And I was like, $1,000. Like, that's all I got for you. He's like, all right. So I dragged this thing home, immediately took the body off the frame, and there was already previous framework done to it, already previous body work done to it. First thought, you know what, like, we're just gonna back half this frame. Like, so cut the rear back half off of it and we'll leave the whole front. And then looked at the frame, everything's rust free, and then decided to throw the entire original frame out that it came with. So from nose to tail, the entire frame of this truck is one-off custom built. The front end is built to Toyota spec still, but basically was redone about 2 or 3 times to make sure it was right. The back half obviously is as it is. As things progressed, realized that the body drop that was done on it previously as well wasn't up to sort of what the standards that we wanted for, as well as now we wanted a new firewall and there's all this kind of stuff. So the whole floor ended up getting recut out and redone, bead rolled and all. New firewall got put into it, and then going from there, started, piecing things together. I fell in love with these wheels that are on it and started sourcing out where I could find them, because they're original Entera Opus 109, which is a 90s wheel, and they don't make them anymore. And started kind of thing like building the truck and piecing things together. And then my whole life uprooted. Things happened very fast and life changed, and I ended up moving to California. I put the Cutlass on a transporter and got in my I have an 86 Toyota pickup as a daily, and I got in my pickup with my dog, Otis, and I said goodbye to my little truck. I put him into storage and essentially was like, I will come back for you. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It's gonna make me cry thinking about it. So I came down to California with this pipe dream, and things weren't great and life was stressful and not the best. I struggled, man, real bad. I kind of thrived on this thought of building this truck, and it kept me going. So in September of 2023, we drove up to the Canadian border and we went and brought my truck down. So my truck came across and it was in shambles, and there were so many parts and things like that. So the parts were inside of it. Brought the truck down to California, had this pipe dream of SEMA, that would be super cool. And so once it got back down here, we put it up on a hoist and realized that there was so many things that needed to still be done with it. I took it over to Hoppo's, who has been my family for the last 12 years. I showed Art and he came out and he's like, look, he's like, if you want to go to SEMA, we can help you. He's like, unload it. He's like, if you don't unload this truck here right now, he's like, you're not going to make SEMA. And I was like, okay. So we unloaded the frame and they're like, are you ready? I was like, yeah. And they're like, okay, come in Monday morning. Like, let's go. I show up, I got all my stuff and they're like, let's cut everything apart. So now we're on like, the truck originally came and it was already in pieces and then we started and redid it all, but now we're redoing it again. I cut out essentially all the work that had originally been done to it up in Canada and we decided to redo it. Diving into it and like restarting everything on it and then figuring out the direction of how we wanted the hydros to go and everything like that just started spiraling. Like it was like when one idea led to the next idea. And I always with this truck had certain things that I wanted to do. Like the 59 inspired interior has always been a thing for this truck. I took every idea that I had for the 59 Impalas and I basically channeled them into this little truck. So that's how it ended up with the 59 dash and the 59 interior. And then it has hydros instead of what a lot of people would do bags on a mini truck. And then like adding in little lowrider elements with the engraving and obviously so much chrome. But as it evolved and snowballed, it became so much more than I ever could have wanted to. When we finished off the hydros at Hoppo's, like it originally was going to just have just a bridge in the back where the cylinders ran through the bridge. In about, I want to say it was about July, Alex said to me, he's like, look, he's like, I know that you trust me, but like, do you trust me enough that we can change this? He had this template cut out that he did on the laser. And he's like, do you see kind of the vision of this back piece? And I was like, it's like, yeah. I was like, he's like, we'll do it a cantilever. We'll make it crazy. He's like, I think it'll be cool. I was like, all right, like, sure. Like, let's do it. Like we're this far in, like we're all in at this point. It snowballed into what it is now. The hydraulic setup that's on it, like I said, it's a cantilever suspension setup, but it's one off. So it took about 400 different programs on the CNC machine to create what it is now and different trial and errors. And then after the hydros were finished with it, the cab had to actually get a bunch of metal work done on it as well. So Adrian came into the picture and he's an incredible sheet metal guy. He mostly does old hot rods and he does a lot of stuff by hand like bead rolling and whatnot. And we did a whole custom brand new back wall on it. The firewall had to be finessed and made better and then custom wheel tubs as well. Now that it was able to sit onto the frame, we were able to kind of see how it was going to sit, how the wheels as they turn, if it was going to cycle properly to allow all those clearances and just where things needed to be. And then also another big piece, fit the dash in properly to make sure that it was proper in there. A lot of people try and do a 59 dash on such a small truck. And because it's such a big car going into such a small truck, it has to have so much cut out of it. So there's about 8 inches removed from the center of it, as well as sectioned off the whole front half of the dash to like really suck it in towards the windshield. The motor was a choice actually. So the block was original to the truck and it had such low miles that my original plan was to just refresh the engine. So for these 22RE Toyotas, they last an eternity and they are notorious for that. They're notorious for being wonderful. So I was like, yeah, low miles, like let's leave it alone. Then I was like, well, we're gonna powder coat it to match the frame. So if we're gonna powder coat it, it's gonna get heated, which therefore means it might change things. It had to get machined. And then because it was getting machined, it was like, well, I guess we're gonna put forged internals in there too. But it just escalated so quickly and made so much sense. And I kind of wanted to pay homage to such a cool, nostalgic, loved engine of the Toyota world. It just made sense to me. And then why not do something a little bit different? Because, you know, anybody can just LS swap something, you know? The 22REs do have a turbo option. They either have a turbo diesel or they do have a turbo like gas. this wasn't a turbo engine to begin with, but it just kind of was like, well, it might be fun. Why do I need to stick with traditional lowriding type stuff? Why not make it a little bit more fun, a little bit fast? But then I was like, look, like, let's make it still a little bit lowrider and engrave it. So it was more so to be different than anything, maybe a little bit of performance gains, but not crazy. Typically in the lowriding world, a lot of these guys, because how like the wheel setup is on them, they like to run a Toyota diff, which is hilarious. So Toyotas are known to be relatively durable and then also narrow enough that works for the setup. But then with this guy, we decided to one-up everything. Now we have a Curry 9-inch in the back. So with the 3.5 gearing, so it can handle a little bit more power. Yeah, so all the engraving on it is done by hand. Hernan, who has a company called Engrave It, he will kind of Sharpie out like this little, what he calls a backbone line. And then from there, just like freehands the whole thing. Unreal. Color is actually from a 2013 Chevy Spark. I saw it driving down the road like 10 years ago, and I was like, that is what I need to paint something one day. And it stuck in my head and it didn't waver from it. When it came down to getting the paint, our good friend Munch, who was working for House of Color at the time, he was looking into getting the toners and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, look, dude, he's like, I don't know if, you know, this toner is in stock right now. And he's like, look, he's like, don't waver from what you've always wanted to paint this truck, because you're going to regret it. And I'm so glad I didn't. We waited and he searched out and found, and they were able to mix the paint in Texas and then ship it over to California so that we were able to get the correct color on the truck. It was unreal. So then Steve came into the picture at SNK, and he was the one who actually painted it. He laid down the color so perfect. It did get a tinted undercoat as well on it, so he tinted it perfect to match the color of the body and then seal it up nice because it was all fresh raw metal under there. When it came to nearing the end of the last few days leading up to SEMA, we had various engine guys coming out trying to dial it in. It has a very unique setup. It has a Holley Terminator X system on it, which is meant for an LS. It has a 4L60 transmission, which is a Chevy application, but it has a 22RE as our block and our engine, and that's obviously Toyota. And then we turboed it and added a large intercooler and all this kind of stuff. So all these things that hadn't really been done much to one of these engines and was really uncommon was so much of a struggle. There was no way to really look it up online. And yeah, the last few days, it was so hit and miss. Like, it would get it to run and then it wouldn't run. Like, it were so many things. And so the day we left for SEMA, I drove it around the parking lot and it wasn't cooling itself. So I was like, okay, it is what it is. Like, it's fine. Probably need to burp the system or whatnot. And so we drove out to SEMA with it. And I was so just grateful to even have the truck there. And we unloaded it and we pushed it up to the doors to enter the building. And we're like, okay, like, we'll try it, sure. And it fired right up. It was the craziest thing. Like, I get chills just like thinking about it, because like, we went through so much to get it to that point. And then in the very end, like, for it to fire up, like, I swear to God, all of us were crying. Like, everybody, like, we're like, this is happening. I can't believe it. And I drove it in. Like, it was pretty unreal. But to accomplish the fact that it drove into SEMA and it displayed all week, it was the most unreal feeling ever. Oh, I did break down. I had like, you know what, like, there was so many moments with this build that like were so rewarding, but there was a few moments with the build that like didn't go on camera, because I just lay on this bench seat and had a few tears to myself, like, because it was overwhelming. The stress of having deadlines too really made it hard, and also I felt so much pressure for the people that were involved with this build, that they deserved the recognition of the build succeeding. I wish that we thought about the fuel cell system with the hydraulic hard lines a little bit better so that it was easier to put gas into. This is not a wonderful situation, but it's fine. We get gas in it. It's just a bit of a pain in the butt. A lot of times in mini trucking, like they'll run them without a bed for a few years. So I thought, I'll run it without a bed. I thought no one would bat an eye. I was like, it's cool looking, like everyone's upset. Anyways, it may eventually get a bed. No. First off, my bank account will never be able to afford to do a build like this, ever again. Ever. You know what? If I ever build anything again and I want to get crazy, tell me no. Just to go out and enjoy. I don't want to really, like, I want to go to car shows, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to win awards. I don't want to be anything fancy. I want to drive this truck. I want to enjoy this truck. And yeah, just share it with other people. And if other people like it too, that's super cool. But for me, like, I built something I love. So at the end of the day, I'm happy.